you talk about most of our prayers being like foxhole prayers, like most
Yeah.
of our prayers being like, I'm going to learn to pray when I need something like I've never prayed
Yeah, call
before.
that the spare tire prayer.
Yeah.
It's like I only need a spare tire when I have a flat tire, and certainly we don't want necessarily the events of life to dictate that. We want to be proactive, not reactive in that. You know.
Like I think times, you think about prayer being so connected to a deeper level of your fulfillment in life and being happy. And I think like, I study happiness mindsets and talk about all these things
Right,
about how
right.
you make sure everything in your mind is focused on the right thing. There's three things they talk about being a happy mindset. And like one of them is to say, you highlight the small pleasures. What do you think about that statement in regards to
Well, I
helping people?
think some of this again is: are you intentional, or are you, what is the old row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Are you just floating down the stream and allowing life to move you down? Because what happens is we get life this world is not set up for our joy and happiness. At least long-term joy and happiness and fulfillment and meaning, maybe short-term pleasures, but long-term. But my point is, if we don't have real hope, then like we get depressed. So depression is really an absence or a lack of hope in life in a positive way. So one of the things to highlight small pleasures is an intentional strategy to push back on the difficulties of life that will make us think negative thoughts. And so to look at the little things we have, the blessings that we have, write them down and remember them and recount them. There's an old gospel hymn: count your blessings, name them one by one.
Mm.
That's a good healthy mindset. That's a happier. It's intentionally identifying and remembering and listing the small pleasures of life to really push back on life can be depressing, for each of us.
Yeah.